The tremor is the first constant of life. It is the mother's heartbeat, the rhythm of the world, the slow, earth-minus shaking beat of the world-minus walker's stride. For generations, the sky-minus-river clan has known no other foundation. Their huts of woven cycad fondant cured hide are lashed with sinew to the immense grey osteoderms that rise like standing stones from the living mountain of an Argentinosaurus rust back. They are a people of the moving sky, their entire existence a grand, slow procession following the sun along the spine of the great river valley. Their calendar is not stone or bone, but the bend of the river below, the blooming of a certain giant flower on the cliffs, the seasonal passage of pterodactyl flocks that glide on the same thermals as their host. This symbiotic culture is a singular, brilliant adaptation in the long, brutal story of human evolution. Hominid, the elder of signs, feels the change not in her bones but in the dust. She sits at the clan's highest point, a weathered perch on the great sauropod's mutual ligament, her back pressed against the wall, wrinkled hide. For 3 suns, the wind has carried the wrong scent, not the wet minus earth perfume of the valley, but a dry, sterile bite of baked stone and salt. Below, the world minus walker's colossal head, a crane minus-like instrument of consumption, is stripping ferns with a lazy rhythm, but its neck angles ever so slightly south, away from the river. Kale, the clan's fastest runner, returns from a scouting mission down the beast's flank. His face grim, he carries a branch not of the familiar, broad minus-leaf trees that line the river, but a brittle, thorny thing with leaves like needles. He says the green is thinning, the earth is turning red. The clan gathers as the sky bleeds to orange. They are a small tribe, barely 70 souls. Their lives a testament to a unique form of prehistoric life. They farm fungus in the warm, damp folds of the world minus walker's skin and harvest the giant parasites that cling to its underbelly. They are masters of the vertical world, their children learning to tie safety knots before they can properly throw a spear. But they are utterly dependent on the beast's ancient pact with the valley. The news ripples through them, a low murmur of disbelief that sours into fear. Kale lays the branch at Enia's feet. The great river is a silver thread to the north, he reports, his voice tight. The world minus walker does not turn back. The ground ahead is cracked and pale. Enia closes her eyes, her mind a library of oral tradition, of stories passed down through 100 generations living on this titan. There is no story of the south, no tale of the Redlands. The lore only speaks of the river, the lifeblood. The world minus walker is leaving the known world, and it is taking them with it. This is not a choice. It is a judgment passed by a creature that does not know they exist. For ancient humans on the solid ground, a bad season means a hard migration. For the sky minus river clan, it means the entire world is walking them into oblivion. The sun is a hammer. It beats down on the grey, moving continent of the world minus walker's back, cracking the clan's clay water vessels and turning the once minus damp fungus farms into brittle husks. The familiar, rhythmic tremor of their world is now joined by a new sensation, the groaning of their host. The Argentinosaurus skin, usually a slick, river minus washed grey, is now coated in a fine red dust. Its breathing labored. The beast is thirsty, and its suffering is the clan's own. The children no longer play. They huddle in the shade of the largest osteoderms. Their nibs cracked. The limited water, harvested from the morning dew that collects on the broad leaves they once carried from the valley, is rationed by the drop. This is a new, terrible chapter in their unique hominid history. A brutal test of their sauropod minus symbiotic culture. Scouting has become a form of sacrifice. To leave the world minus walker is to descend into a furnace. They use ropes braided from the beast's shed sinew, lowering themselves down the cliff of its flank. 100 minus foot drop onto baked, daily on earth. The first team of hunters, led by a man named Biome, does not return. The second finds what is left of them, splintered bones and shattered spears near a dried minus up ravine. The tracks around the remains are not from any beast in their memory. They are heavy, for mine is stowed. with the deep imprint of a predator that walks with its weight pressed to the ground. Taneo, studying the tracks from a rubbing Kale made on a piece of hide, names the unseen killer the dust minus stalker. Their knowledge of prehistoric animals, once a key to their survival, is now dangerously obsolete. The crisis comes to a head in the shadow of the world minus Walker's immense, arching spine. Kale stands before the elders, his face streaked with sweat and grime. He points to a series of low, dark mesas shimmering in the distance. "Dear," he says, his voice raspy. "I saw it at dawn. A flash of green. It could be a spring, or just a clutch of stubborn thorn minus brush. Alone." The clan's eldest hunter shakes his head. "It is a day's walk, and this heat. We would be empty of water before we got there, and the dust minus stalkers hunt in the open. This is the hard choice, to die of thirst on the back of their god, or to die of heat and teeth on the red earth below." But Kale has been watching. His survival skills are sharp. They do not hunt at the peak of the sun, he insists. They shelter in the shadows of the rocks. We leave before dawn. We move fast. We dig for water, and we return by the next dawn. It is a plum born of desperation, a gamble against a merciless environment. Nia looks at the faces of her clan, at the hollow eyes of the children, the snow, certain death of thirst, or the quick, possible death of the hunt. There is no real choice. She nods, once. "Go," she commands Kale. "Take the three swiftest. Do not fail." As Kale and his small team prepare their ropes and spears, a profound silence falls over the clan. They are watching their last hope being lowered into hell. Kale's party returns under the first light of the third dawn, not with the triumph of discovery, but with the haunted look of survivors. Their water skins are not full. They carry strange, fleshy, salt minus crusted leaves and a story that chills the already desperate clan. They found the flesh of green. It was not an oasis but a vast, alien landscape of succulents growing from the edge of a blindingly white plain, a desert of salt that stretched to the horizon. They were ambushed by the dust minus stalkers, three of the powerful, crocodile minus like Postosuchus, and only escaped by scaling a rock spire the predators could not climb. The water they found was a brackish seep, barely enough to sustain their return. Hunt, which had been a flickering ember, seems to die completely. They have traded a slow death for a fast one. But as the world minus Walker plods inexorably forward, it becomes clear that this salt flat is its destination. The colossal creature lets out a low, groaning rumble that vibrates through the clan's very bones. It lowers its immense neck and begins to lick the salt minus caked turf, its vast, rasping tongue stripping the strange succulents from the ground. Nia watches, her mind racing, connecting the beast's dusty, cracked hide, its labored breathing, its unwavering southern path. She examines its droppings, the immense coprolites that they use as fertilizer for their fungus farms, and sees the change. This was not a mindless march into oblivion. It was a pilgrimage, a desperate journey for a vital mineral, a medicine the valley could no longer provide. This realization reshapes their entire understanding of the creature they live upon. A sudden, profound insight into the deep time of prehistory. The world had not tilted against them. It had tilted with purpose. The moment of understanding is shattered by a chorus of reptilian hisses from below. A large pack of dust miners stalkers, drawn by the scent of the world miners walkers' few bleeding sores, emerges from the rocky outcrops. They are more numerous and bolder than any scout had reported. They snap at the beast's ankles, their powerful jaws tearing at the thick hide. The world minus walker bellows in pain, its great legs stomping blindly, but it is too vast, too slow to defend its own feet. For the clan, this is the final test. To huddle on the high ground and pray their host survives, or to intervene. Kale meets Nia's gaze. There is no command, only a shared understanding. This is no longer just the beast's fight. It is their fight. He lets out a war cry that is thin and reedy against the primordial sounds of the battle, but it is answered by every hunter in the clan. They swarm to the ledges. The thick, keratinous ridges of the Argentinosaurus largest osteoderms, and unleash a volley of spears and heavy, sharpened rocks. They are a nuisance to the armored Postosuchus, but they are a thinking, tactical nuisance. They aim for eyes, for the softer flesh of the predator's necks. They become a distraction, a swarm of stinging insects that the attackers cannot ignore. They are fighting for their world, and for the first time, they are not just its passengers, but its immune system. The battle below rages until the sun sets, a brutal war of attrition between Titan and Predator, with the small, desperate sparks of humanity tipping the scale. The clan's intervention does not grant an easy victory, but it creates chaos, turning the tide. The battered Postosuchus finally retreat, leaving the world-minus walker wounded but alive, standing firm on its newfound salt-minus lick. In the aftermath, a new covenant is forged in blood and salt. The clan descends to treat the beast's wounds with poultices, a gesture of partnership that transcends the simple symbiosis of the past. They begin to build permanent outposts along the world-minus walker's flanks, watches to spot threats. Their society remade from one of passive cohabitation to active, mutual defense. They survived not by finding what they sought, but by understanding the needs of another, by tying their destiny to a creature of impossible scale. This single act, this choice to defend their host, is a seed from which a new kind of human consciousness will grow. How many of our own myths of dragons and gods, of titans and world-minus serpents, are but the faintest echoes of a time when our ancestors looked upon the living mountains of the Mesozoic and chose not to flee, but to make a home? This has been an alternate prehistory survival chronicle. The past is never truly dead. It is not even past. It is the bedrock upon which we stand. And from the north, following the abandoned river valley, a new sound begins to echo through the canyons. A rhythmic, deafening roar unlike any the world has heard before.